Let's kick off this episode with a question. How many accounting firms do you think, or do you know, have truly adapted to the speed of change we're seeing in the profession? The reality is more than 70% of accountants globally are underprepared for the disruption that is hitting the industry. And while some leaders are ahead of the game, the vast majority are playing catch up. So what happens to those who don't make the shift in time? They're going to get left behind, plain and simple. Welcome to the Accounting Influencers podcast. I'm Rob Brown. Today, we're tackling one of the biggest challenges facing accounting firms, keeping up with the disruptive trends in the profession, handling change. If you want to stay relevant, significant, build credibility, maintain influence inside and outside your firm, this is a good episode for you because nobody wants to be a part of a firm that is stuck in the past or is struggling to cope with change. We need to be a step ahead, not a step behind. Handling change well, not something accountants are famous for, but many individual accountants are doing this right. And that's why we're shining a light on it today. And disruption, it's not coming, it's already here. It's part of life, isn't it, right now? If there's one thing we know is coming, it's change, whether it's technology, shifting, growing, increasing client expectations, a competitive talent market. Accounting leaders face a landscape that's moving, evolving, revolving, however you want to call it, faster than ever before. They say that a technical skill these days will be out of date in 18 to 24 months. That's how fast things are changing. And I know I'm a part qualified accountant myself. I know that accountants being ever those debits and credits, obviously that has not changed for centuries and will never, but there are so many other things happening that transcend the ledger that we need to be handling here. And the question for you is, how do I embrace change and come out stronger? How do I interpret the trends to not only survive, but position myself as an example for my team, for my peers, for my professional contacts? So let's talk about influence during disruptive times. It starts with one critical truth. People resist change until the pain of staying the same outweighs the pain of change. Let me say that again, and I'll give you a classic example of it. People resist change until the pain of staying the same outweighs the pain of change. I saw an irritational speaker, he called himself, and he said this phrase. He says, as long as you look in the mirror naked and think, I don't look too bad, you will never make a change with your weight. If you keep looking at the situation and saying, I can cope, things are not too bad, I can handle this, I can control things here, then you're not going to make any changes. What we know is the pace of change is going to be faster. So there is pain coming up, particularly for the people that are resistant to change or think they are changing, but really not going as fast as they need to. So let me say it again, this critical truth. People resist change until the pain of staying the same outweighs the pain of change. What is the pain of an accounting firm not moving to the cloud? Well, you might not feel it now, but you will, because that's the future. What is the pain of an accounting leader not becoming a thought leader, not keeping up with current trends, not being an opinion maker, not putting their insights, their intellectual property, their stories, their areas of expertise, not putting those out there to show others that you are credible, you are authoritative, you are declarative, you are excellent at what you do? What is the pain of being a well-kept secret? If you've made all your millions, if you've got all the reputation you need, fine. You've earned the right to do nothing. But for us mortals out there, it involves, with influence, not being a well-kept secret. And a big part of that is putting your thoughts out there and getting them out of your head. Now, if that's a problem for you, just by the way, I'm working with a few accounting leaders in 2025 to interview them once a month to capture their thoughts and their passions and what's important to them and their areas of expertise, and turning that 30-minute interview into LinkedIn posts, blog posts, articles, video snippets, so that you've got all your thought leadership and personal branding done. Give that to your marketing department with no heavy lifting. So if that interests you, reach out to me on LinkedIn. But let's come back to this. This idea of resisting change until the pain of where you are is bigger than the pain of doing something about it. This applies to you, your firm, your industry. take a look at what's happening around us. There's research recently that says the number of audit firms is shrinking, certainly in the UK. It's dropped by nearly 7%. This consolidation, regulatory pressures, rising costs, competition from larger firms. For smaller firms, mid-tier firms particularly, adapt or risk becoming obsolete. The audit body of work is growing, but the number of firms doing it is getting smaller. So there's obsolete firms out there that are just not keeping up. Here's another. The rise of AI and automation, it's another game changer. You don't need me to tell you that. 80% of firms now report using some kind of AI-driven tools, from their audit software to predictive analytics to whatever it would be. These tools are improving accuracy, efficiency, which are, as accountants being the guardians of data, these are your watchwords, aren't they? Accuracy, efficiency. But they're also refining the skill sets required in accounting to stay competitive and relevant. And as a leader, as an influencer, if you fail to invest in upskilling on new technologies, you again risk being left behind in a tech-first profession. It is a tech-first profession. It's a people profession, but it's also tech-first. Diversity is also another trend that's gone beyond nice to have. 56% of accounting students are now female. Firms that aren't creating inclusive cultures are going to struggle to attract and retain top talent. There's a lot going on in the talent market right now, a lot of fluidity. I did an episode just recently on Big Four layoffs. Why are they laying people off? What's going to happen to those people that leave the Big Four? They are flooding the talent marketplace, but the offshoring on sourcing world, that's gathering a lot of traction as well. There's a huge case to be made for that. Cost efficiencies. You can imbue culture into overseas workers now. And remote, hybrid, always on the agenda. So diversity, yeah, it's a big part of the mix. What is your employer brand? How are you being an ambassador of your firm as an individual in saying this is a great place to work? Again, that's your intellectual property. That's thought leadership that you should be putting out there, telling those stories. But I get the change is hard. We're accounting professionals. I'm a former high school math teacher and a part qualified accountant. So I'm, like you, used to the numbers being right. They're either right or they're wrong. Change is hard but necessary. It's painful, but it's mandatory. It's uncomfortable, isn't it, to step out of your comfort zone and to question how things have already been done. I had a great quote recently that said, if you do not follow your plan, you're following your mood. Now, your mood is whatever you feel like doing. But if you follow your plan, that's the stuff that's important, the objective. It's hard to eat clean. It's hard to get to the gym. It's hard to do some mobility and some stretching. It's hard to learn a new skill like ChatGPT. It's hard to create a video. It's hard to upskill in a particular area. Change is painful and it is uncomfortable because you're questioning how things have been done. You're saying what's got me here will not get me there. But the reality is that life is either easy now and hard later, or hard now and easy later. Let me say that again. Life is either easy now, you eat the fast food now, you take the easy road right now, you don't go to the gym now because you feel okay, you look in the mirror and think I don't look too bad. So life's easy now and hard later on because you'll pay the price for that, won't you? You'll start putting on weight. Your suits and your dresses won't fit. You'll start to get more out of breath. You're encouraging, opening the door for risk factors with all kinds of stuff going on. You're not setting yourself up right for a good future because that future seems so far down the line. When you smoke, you think I'm okay now, but down the line, this is why young people, they feel immortal, don't they? And they feel like they can do what they like now because the repercussions, the consequences of that are so far down the road. Let me say it again. Life is either easy now and hard later, or hard now and easy later. You learn some new skills now. You devote a bit of time to this now. You start to build a body of work, some thought leadership, put some pieces out there, build your personal brand. That's not easy. And 99.9% of people won't do it. But if you do that and lay the foundation and build your reputation and build a network and build a personal brand, things will be easier. Business opportunities will come to you. People will want to work for you and with you. People will know about you before you know about them. So choosing to resist change, and it is a choice. It might feel easier today, but the consequences are down the road. Lost opportunities, outdated skills, declining relevance. That's going to hit you at some point down the road. So, in encouraging you here, are you clinging to old ways of working because they feel safe? Or are you embracing the hard work of growth, personal growth, adaptation, building that brand, building that network? The leaders, the players that thrive in disruptive times, they lean into a challenge. They choose hard now to create a better future later on. So building influence starts with you. We talk a lot of influence on the show. It doesn't necessarily come from your title or your years of experience. It's your ability to adapt, to inspire, to lead by example. Here's some practical tips to take away. The first thing is to stay informed, to stay current, to stay on top of things. It involves reading, of course it does. It involves monitoring, it involves getting notifications and updates. But you can manage that information coming in, and you can curate that to make sure it's exactly the stuff you need. You can even put it through AI and chat GPT and everything else and get executive summaries of this. I don't read books anymore. I read books that are fiction, for the enjoyment, for the story, for the downtime, for the relaxation. But I don't read business books anymore. I don't have the time. So I go online and I Google the name of the book and summary. There's loads of apps out there now that will give you the key parts of a book. And honestly, I wrote a book, so I know this. My book is here, Build Your Reputation. Great book, really proud of it. But it weighs a lot when it lands on your desk. And who's got 5-6 hours to read this? I don't mind not selling a few books. But looking at book summaries, it changes the way you consume information because you're much more efficient with it. So stay informed and know the trends that are shaping the industry, whether it's AI, automation, client demands. Make it your mission to understand how these forces are impacting your firm and your role. We've done a session on private equity and how that's affecting the people in firms. We've done a session on talent, how that's affecting people in firms. We've done a session on, what was the one we did recently? We did the big four layoffs, mergers and acquisitions, all this stuff. AI, it's affecting your life. It's changing things. So you've got to stay informed and know what these trends are doing for you and your team. Second thing is take action. So don't wait for change to be imposed upon you. Don't wait to change because you have to. Try and get ahead of that. Proactively seek out areas where you can innovate. Not massively, just 5% change. It could be learning a new technology, a new skill, rethinking some workflows, exploring some service lines, eking out some new opportunities, some new niches. Third, communicate your vision a lot more. We've got to get better at telling stories. It is a skill of the now and of the future because you're going to have to sell change to your team. Selling disruption, selling the idea of upskilling and learning new technologies. You've got to communicate that as a leader because your people will look to you for direction. The talent out there will look to you and say, is this the leader that I want to work for? Or is this a leader that is struggling with change? So you've got to be transparent about the changes that are going on. You've got to tell the story and articulate a clear vision about how these challenges will affect your team and how they will create opportunities rather than providing obstacles. Yeah, there will be some heavy lifting. Easy now, hard later, or hard now, easy later. You've got a choice. And next one is number 4. Number 5 is modeling resilience. We've got to be mentally strong to deal with change. There are buffets. Is that Warren Buffett? You're going to get buffeted, is what I'm trying to say. There's going to be hits, whether they're with your health, your job, your role, your technology. We're going to get buffeted around in the waves. So you can get a surfboard, a boat, you can be a stronger swimmer, but change is coming. It's hard for everyone. So you've got to show your team that you are a little bit vulnerable, that you're not afraid to be uncomfortable. You're not afraid to experiment. In a way, you're not afraid to fail. You're not afraid to try new stuff. And hopefully you build that resilience. It's a discipline, it's a muscle, and that will inspire them to push through their own discomfort, their own uncertainty is what is going on. And one more for you. Be an example. Your influence, your impact in the workplace doesn't stop with being good at handling change. You've got to set the standard for others to follow. So think about the behaviors, the attitudes you want to see in your team, your firm, your people. Are you modeling those yourself? Because if you want your team to embrace technology, you've got to champion and adopt those tools. You've got to lead the way. If you want your firm to go in a different direction or be more intentional with personal development, I'm not talking about CPE technical stuff, I'm talking about the softer skills, then you've got to show you're doing that too. With collaboration, particularly, if you're setting an example, you've got to be breaking down silos. You've got to be fostering teamwork and engagement and connectedness across functions, across geographical locations, particularly if you've got a remote workforce. If you are prioritizing diversity, are you setting the example by mentoring and advocating for the underrepresented, the disenfranchised, the minorities in your firm? Influence is about being bold, having a direction, and being consistent. And it's not just what you say once, it's what you model every day. So what are we left with at the end of this episode? We're talking about how influencers can use the disruptive trends going on and leverage that for impact, for influence, for credibility, for relevance. So 3 things you can do to build your influence during disruptive times. First is calibrate, audit your skills. We like the word audit, don't we? Identify areas where you need to grow, where you're falling behind. It could be, well, there are a million examples. It could just be softer and enhancing your leadership capabilities, your storytelling abilities, your presenting. Could be building up your thought leadership. Take a course, read a book, find a mentor. But you've got to audit your skills and see where the gaps are. Second takeaway here is engage your network. Influence in any industry is knowing and being known. And disruption is easier to navigate when you've got allies, coaches, friends, partners, peers. You're not doing it alone. So keep connected with people whose opinions you respect and who will challenge you inside and outside your firm. Share your insights, share your strategies, share your support, share your intellectual property, share your stories. And lastly, create a culture of change. Change is coming, but change is okay. We grow when we change, and we are stagnant when we don't change. So encourage your team, you're modeling it, of course, we've said that, to embrace experimentation, to try new things, celebrate the small wins, learn from the failures, build an environment where innovation, it sounds trite, doesn't it? It's part of the DNA, but it's expected. So, as I draw this episode to a close, personal soapbox moment of mine, I like to rant about this. The pain of staying the same is growing every day. It's going to be more and more painful to stay as you are. The accounting profession is transforming. Leaders who adapt will be the ones that shape its future. And this is your moment to step up, to show your team what it means to handle disruption with courage, with foresight, with discernment, and to build your influence in a way that lasts. So don't wait for the pain of staying the same to push you into doing something. Choose to embrace the hard now. Create an easier, more rewarding future for yourself, for your team, for your firm. And remember, it's the leaders who see the future coming. They've got one foot in the now, one foot in the future. They stay strategically important. They stay commercially relevant. Be one of those leaders. And I'll see you next time on the Accounting Influencers Podcast.